You clicked on this video because your business is eating your lunch. You work nights and weekends, and you even check your phone at your kid's game, and you can't enjoy those precious moments. Nothing runs without you. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to break free of that trap step by step. I'll walk you through how to build a business that runs without you so that you can finally stop being a firefighter and being the owner. Talking about real systems that work, not theory or fluff, an actual step-by-step process that's going to walk you through how to do this week by week so that your business is running better when you leave than it is when you are there. Look, I get it. You've probably seen videos like this before, the mythical autopilot business, but in reality, it's true. And here's an example I want to show you. Think about a publicly traded company. If their CEO dies, quits, resigns, or gets fired tomorrow, does their business go away? The answer is no. It might get better, it might get worse, it might stay the same, but it doesn't go away. And the reason is because they built out systems that allow the company to run with or without the CEO for a long period of time. You need to get your business there without being a Fortune 500 company. And that's what I want to show you today. But before we fix the problem, let's understand why you're actually stuck. You started a business to have freedom, right? We all did. To be your own boss, to control your schedule, to build something that can give you the life that you want, and one that gives your family the life that they want too. But along the way, you became the most important employee in your company. Going back to that CEO example, are they the most important employee? Well, from some perspective, yes, and some perspective, no. We think about like Steve Jobs or these big, prominent Fortune 500, Fortune 100 company CEOs, and we talk about how that person impacts it. But the reality is there's so many publicly traded companies that you don't know how often they're changing CEOs, and you not knowing goes to show you that it probably happens more often than you think about because the stock market isn't falling apart every day because CEOs are changing, but yet it happens. One of the big lies that owners tell themselves is, I'm hands-on, I care about quality and building relationships. And I say it's a lie because they believe that they are the only person who can do it or the person who can do it best. That's the lie. Not that you don't care about those things. So we need to unpack how you can get your employees to care about those things the same way that you do. Not to the same level, but the same way, so that they can take those roles up for you and be champions for your business. So before we get into this, I want to ask you 3 questions to see if your head's in the right spot. And this will determine whether or not you should keep watching this video. 1, are you willing to get out of your own way? If so, great, press on. 2, can you or do you trust people in your company to do things that you do right now? 3, are you ready to build systems that replace some of the work that you do and some of the work that your employees do so you can focus on what actually matters? Step 1, document everything. And I don't say everything to mean every little thing, but you'll get the drift. Right now, your business probably runs on tribal knowledge, which means if you had a meeting and you sat around a table, you could ask questions and you could get answers, and people in that room could tell you what they do, why it works, what doesn't work, and you could do the same. The issue becomes is that when those people leave or get sick or die, or you leave or get sick or die, then the tribal knowledge falls apart. So you have to begin to document everything, starting with yourself. And the reason you start with yourself is because right now you are, in fact, the most important person in your business, right? You're not the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. So you need to begin to document everything to show people that this is important for your company. Also, it's going to show you how to document things in a way that people understand them. So one of the issues becomes is that we begin to document stuff and we go, I think this said this way is really important. And then you give it to someone and then they don't take it the same way that you do. Think about writing a story. If you wrote a story today, a novel, a short story, some fiction work, you might think it's great, but the audience might hate it. So the same thing is true here. What SOPs or documentation are you creating, and then what level do you need to have them at? How do you think about that stuff so that you can make sure that people can pick up right where you left off? And so there's 2 ways to think about this. One is goals, and the other is KPIs. Now KPIs gets a lot of traction on the internet. In reality, you need them, but probably not as many as you think. The point with goals is goals are tied to objectives, kind of ideas, what is the goal for today? The goal for today is to make sure that we get 40 sales calls on the books. That's the goal, right? So that understands it. Now, the KPI might be how many cold emails you sent out, how you retargeted your ads, how many cold calls you make. It could be stuff like that. The SOP then takes from the goal, takes from the KPI, and says, this is how you do this. Now, as you go through this process, what you're going to learn is that the goal is going to be refined, shortened, and make sure it's no longer than a page, right? So your sales goal for the quarter, in general, whatever it might be, needs to be no longer than a page so someone new can pick that up and understand the goal. But on Thursday, they're going to encounter a problem, but the SOPs might not tell them exactly what to do. So the goal document is going to help them make a decision. And then after that decision is made, then you can modify the SOPs so that you know in the future whether or not they made the right decision. As you go along, you can refine your SOPs to include every little thing that you think is important. Odds are most of it's not important because you have the goal document. And the goal document will tell them how to think about things, how to deal with difficult problems. Should they refund a customer immediately? Well, if the goal document is the goal is to provide the world's best customer service, then sometimes they should, because that's part of customer service. But SOPs might tell them exactly when they need to refund a customer. Did the customer pay? Did they open the files you sent them? So on and so forth, right? However, you're going to have situations where the SOPs won't tell the person what to do. And so they go back to that goal document. And the goal document says to provide the world's best customer service. Here's how we think about it. Again, one page. And they go, you know what? I'm going to refund or not refund based upon this goal document. Then when you have the conversation with them, now you can understand their thinking, how it pertains to the goal document and the SOPs. Figure out how to adapt the SOPs if you need to. Maybe the person didn't understand the SOP, going back to what I said earlier, it's not as clear as you thought. Or they did understand them clearly and you need to modify them so in the future you don't have to deal with this problem again. For the next 3 days, I want you to get a notebook just like this one and carry it with you everywhere you go. And when someone asks you a question or you show someone how to do something or you need to break down how to solve a problem, write it down. At the end of 3 days, you'll have a list of 20 to 50 things in your head, and these are the things that you're going to document your goals and your SOPs around, right? So you've seen this in action. You've wrote down all the questions you've got, the problems you solve, and then you're going to build out, okay, does this fit into the goal framework? So what's the goal for sales, for ops? What's the goals for those? And then SOPs, okay, how would I do this? When I explained this to Tom, did he really understand it? Did he respond the way that I thought he would? Did he go do exactly what I thought he would go do or not? You're going to start doing this, and the more you do this, the better this process is going to get, because now you've documented and you've seen it in action and you see the response to make sure, oh, wait, Tom, why did you go do that? Well, Tom did it because the SOP said this word right here. And this word, in Tom's mind, didn't mean what you thought it meant. So either clarify the SOP or talk to Tom and explain to him what that word meant. Pro hack here is you can use stuff like Loom to record videos as well. So if something complicated or something that you want to get your face on, maybe you can do some slides in a Loom so that you can talk through why you're writing the SOPs the way that you are. After you've gotten your list, where you want to start at is quite simply where you got asked the most questions, right? So if you keep getting asked the same question over and over and over again, that's number one. That's the one you got to get off your plate right now. So Loom, SOP, goal, that's it. Number two might not be the thing that you got asked the most, but might be the most important, right? So once a week, you get this certain type of problem that you have to solve, and it really depends on whether or not the business moves forward. Since you're learning how to create this process, you might not want to get rid of it first because you're learning how to document and how to talk and how to train. So the common questions are number one. Number two might be the biggest fires, the most important fires. Now that you've taken that information, you spread it out, you've told people, you've seen the responses, now it's the most important thing on your list, right? And so then go through the list that way. So number one, most common. Number two, most important. And then figure out from there the rest of your list, the order that you want it in. And you're going to be better with each step, right? So each step you're going to get better at this, and you're going to be refining this for the next 2 or 3 weeks, maybe a month. And eventually the types of questions that you get will be a lot different than the ones you got today, because you can say, go look at this document. Other thing I'll mention here is if you tell someone, go look at this Loom, this SOP, wherever this is being held at in your organization, and they keep coming back to you, you need to have a conversation with them and say, Mary, right now, past 3 years, you've come to me for everything. But the past 2 months, I've said, go look at this document, and you keep coming to me. Is the document not clear? Is there a reason that you think you need to ask me questions? Help me, give me the feedback so I know how to train you better, how to empower you more on what I want you to do next. Then if Mary doesn't pick it up, now you learned that Mary's not a trainable employee, and sad for Mary, but she probably needs to be moved on to somewhere else. Odds are though, Mary's going to feel relief once you tell her that she can go do this without coming to you. Because in Mary's mind, coming to you was how she got validation, how she showed you that she cared about what's going on. Once you tell her, hey, you've been coming to me, I created this, I expect you to go here, and then that's a great thing, she will no longer come to you. So let's take this and dive in a little bit more on the documentation, the SOP, the goal scenario. Let's assume that what you get asked the most about is customer complaints. Anytime a customer is unhappy, they come to you and they ask you, do you want to give them a refund or not? So you're going to work on your goal document, that one-page document that's going to express exactly how you think about customer service. And right now it's in your head, but you haven't written it down, so it's going to be kind of vague, and you're going to work through this. So for the next 2 or 3 weeks, this is your most common question that you get is customer complaints, how to deal with them. You're going to begin to formulate how to put this into a goal so that people understand how to handle unhappy customers. Let's use this as an example. How to handle customer complaints, right? So we're going to train our employees on how to do this. And so anytime a customer says that they're unhappy with our product or service, here is our goal. Our goal document is to turn an unhappy customer into a customer who tells their friends about us, right? That's the goal. And so we're going to talk about how we're going to try to get there in this training that we're going to do with our employees. So the first thing is, we might say, well, the first thing we want to do is listen to the entire complaint without interrupting. So we sit there and let them vent. Just, they put it on us. Number 2, we might say something like, I understand why you're frustrated or upset. Number 3, we want to ask a question. What would make this right for you? Number 4, go ahead on that goal sheet and say, if the request costs under $100, then do it immediately, right? So our goal might be to have the best customer service in the world. Anything under $100, we go ahead and refund it immediately because it's not worth getting the customer upset further over. Now, what if it costs more than $100? As you're going through your training with your employees, you can change it from $100 to $1,000 to $5,000, it doesn't matter. If it costs over $101, say, let me talk to my manager and call you back in 2 hours. What's a good number to reach you at? And so now you've told the customer that you're taking their concerns seriously, you've listened to them, and you're going to call back after you speak to your supervisor. This also communicates to the customer that this person cannot make this decision without speaking to someone else. They've told them that. Within 2 hours or less, the customer service representative will call them back and give them the result. Hopefully, they have figured out a way to make them happy. Again, going back to your goal document and your SOPs, this is why you're building this out. The goal is to have the best customer service, and your SOPs are going to tell you how to do this. So the customer service rep goes to their manager, they sit down, and they say, okay, this is the problem, this is what the customer said. Maybe listen to the call recording to see how upset the customer actually is. What did the customer service rep say right? What did they say wrong? Go ahead and do that quick training, and then go, this is what I want to do. Call them back in 2 hours or less, and follow up 3 days later as a bonus. So 3 days later, the customer service rep calls back and says, Mrs. Smith, we gave you a refund in this case. We want to make sure that the money came back to your account, and if you had any more questions for us. No, I don't. Yes, I do. Great. Mrs. Smith, I know we didn't give you the refund, but we gave you a discount or a new service or a new product or whatever it might be. I want to make sure that you're content with that. You're happy with that. You're ecstatic about that, right? Our goal, if we go back up, the goal wasn't to only make them happy. It's to have them tell their friends about us. In customer service, all you have to do is build that goal document that talks about that, your beliefs about that. What's the goal? How do you accomplish it? And then execute on it. And when you do that, people will tell people, man, the customer service there is really good. I was really mad because they sent me a defective product or they didn't show up on time or whatever it might be. but they handled it like true professionals. I was really impressed by that. That will spread like wildfire. Here's what your goal document might include or your SOP might say, depending on how you formulate those two. You don't want your customer service to argue about who's right. Remember, they're going to be your champion in the wild, so you can't argue about who's right or wrong. You can't blame another department. That's blaming yourself, right? So sales told you this, operations did that, finance did this. You can't get into that game where you blame this person or that person, even though you might know that sales said the wrong thing or finance overbilled. You can't blame them. So you're going to make sure that you have the goals and the SOPs in a way that resolve that tension. Also, don't say that's our policy. No one cares about your policy because we all know that you can change your policy if you want to. We know it. And so by saying it's your policy, some people will just hang up, but that will make other people really, really mad. Your policy is dumb. Your policy didn't think about this, right? So your goal is to have the world's best customer service. Your SOP, in this case, might want to say, never say, that's our policy. Finally, don't make promises you can't keep. Don't do that. If you say you're going to call back in 2 hours, the customer service rep needs to call back in 2 hours. If it's 1 hour, great. Don't make it 10 minutes. They might get distracted. They might have to go to the bathroom. Don't do that. But make something that it's a promise that you can keep, your customer service reps can keep, whoever in your company is doing this can keep. I hope you noticed by now, it's very specific, right? So you got the goals, you got the SOPs, and the KPIs are kind of tied in there. Maybe if you want to know about KPIs, comment below. I'll make another video on that. Now that you kind of understand the goals and SOPs, make sure that you understand this concept. Words are good, pictures are better, videos are best. It's really a simple concept. Videos are better because video is going to denote emotion. You're caring. Sometimes if you're trying to be perfect, which I wouldn't recommend, be natural, then you can get your tone and your inflection of your voice, all that stuff where words are going to be okay, unless you're like Stephen King and you're really going to, if you even notice here, I'm kind of stumbling to my words. I'm trying to be more normal so that you understand what I'm saying. If you're Stephen King, you can write words all day and people would get it. If you're a meme person, like you're really good at memes, maybe pictures are good, but video for most people is best because they can talk naturally, you can edit the video, and people will understand your thoughts on it at a level that words probably won't get at. And just like this segment here just was, it's more natural. It's more how I actually am than what I did before and what I'm going to do after, which is a little bit more cut up. Just sit down, write a script, record a video, keep it 3 to 5 minutes, and people will love it. Your people will learn faster when you show them exactly what you want them to see, right? So if someone said, hey, you're going to go to a foreign country and you're going to look for this stuff and they're going to describe it to you in words, you might go, and if they're a very good storyteller, figure out exactly what you're looking for. But they show you a picture, it's better. If they had a video of like how to get off the plane and how to drive exactly there, you know, there's a fork in the road here, or there's a roundabout there, and how to navigate that stuff, that would be even the best. So having video is best, but if you can't, don't deny pictures. And finally, of course, words are the easiest, but just remember, words sometimes struggle to communicate exactly what we think they're going to communicate. The final thing I'm going to say here is make sure that those first things we talked about, you're testing them, right? So don't come in with an expectation that you're going to be the greatest at creating goals and SOPs and giving them to people. Make sure that you have a lot of grace, understand, listen for feedback, and you're testing. Tell people, I'm trying this new system out, so please give me feedback on what you think, how I can make it better, how I can tweak it, how I can modify it, and then watch to see how people respond. Just because person A knocks it out of the park on what you said doesn't mean that person B, C, D, or E will. So watch and learn, test and tweak as you go along. This is so important that this is your top priority to do this because you're trying to remove yourself from the business. You have to get it right. And the second thing you're going to work on, the first thing was the most common, the second thing is the most important. Before you go there, you want to make sure that you actually understand how to do this. Once you're done with SOPs and kind of goal setting, understand, as I said earlier, this is an evolving process. So maybe once a quarter or once a week, even as you're going out, you might want to tweak this once a week as you roll this out to your team. Have a 15-minute meeting. Do we have anything come up on the SOPs this week that wasn't clear, or did the goal send us in the wrong direction? Just because the goal sent you in the wrong direction doesn't mean change the goal. It might be a word in the goal. It might be someone's understanding of the goal. Make sure that you understand that, and then maybe tweak the SOP or add a SOP. Understand that you're never going to have every little thing covered. And so the goal is that document so people can sit there and go, okay, I'm not sure what to do. I'm going to live off the goal document. And you can't punish people if they've done their best based upon the goal document. The SOPs is going to show them how to implement what they need to do once they've reviewed the goal document, or maybe they don't need the goal document because they've seen it 15 times and they want to make sure that they're doing it the best way the company has them to do it. So go back to the refund policy. Maybe it starts off with $100 and then you move it to $200. Okay, well, they need to understand how to handle that. So the SOP process is going to show them exactly how to do that. Each time something comes up, ask yourself a question. Should we add an SOP for this? Just because something came up and someone did something doesn't mean you need a new SOP, but it might. It just depends on what it is. You can start off with a process that adds SOPs for everything, and then maybe once a quarter you eliminate the ones that you really don't need. They're just there, or maybe you can categorize them like red hot, yellow, green, something like that. A system that says, okay, these are the ones that we see the most common, all the way down to this is obscure stuff that we found from time to time. In case this comes up, here it is. But you don't want those obscure things mixed with the things that people will see every day. You might think, Ryan, this is a lot. Like, do it for myself, but then my whole team. Well, think about the 80-20 rule here. That's what's going to encompass most of the headaches that are the most important, right? The most common and the most important. So those two things start there. And then as you get better, tweak, refine, and expand. Next, let's talk about hiring. So now that you begin to do this process of documentation, SOP, delivery, there's a few things you want to consider. But the biggest thing is to revamp, and I do say that, revamp your job descriptions. And here's why. Most job descriptions are like, you went to college, you worked in the industry for 10 years, you got a can-do attitude, all that doesn't matter. What you want is a job description that says you're responsible for handling 300 sales calls a day, or 15 sales calls a day, or 15 customer service support tickets a day, or whatever it is. You're responsible for this, 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 this. So that way, it's an output. Tie everything that you can to outputs, because those are easy to track, and it becomes very easy for you and the employee to have a conversation whether or not you hit those metrics. And if you're not sure where to start at, maybe start low and then bump it up, or start high and lower it down. I would recommend starting a little bit higher and lowering it down than starting low and raising it up, because people might feel like they're doing more work and getting paid less. Whereas if you start high, just above what you think they can do, you can lower it down. But if you don't have these outputs listed for this job has no meaning. So if you hired someone and you said, you're a salesperson, and what I need you to understand is that you have to be great on the phone. Okay, anybody can say that they're great on the phone, and a few people can fake it for an interview. What you need is someone who closes a deal a week, or a deal a month, or 3 deals a day, or whatever it is. That's the output. That's what you actually need. So in your job description, now you have that. So when you sit down, you have your goal document and your SOPs. Now you have the outputs that you need for your employees. And if you don't have this, it's going to really hamper your ability to hire new people and to train your current ones. Because there's going to be a debate, at least in their mind, about whether or not what they're doing is what you asked them to do. You said be good on the phone. I am good on the phone. People love me. No one hangs up early. My call retention is the longest in the company. But you're not closing deals, buddy. That's not what you hired me for. I understand you hired me to do sales, but you didn't say I need to do 3 a day in the job description. All of this begins to work together when you understand you have the goals, the SOPs, and now to about KPIs. We can do a full video on KPIs, let me know, comment. But now we understand the outputs is related to this, because now this person understands the goal document, gives them guidance. The SOP helps them understand where to go find stuff and how to do it. And then their outputs now tie them to what they're supposed to do in their job. And if they can't hit that, it could be because the SOPs aren't clear enough or the goal isn't clear enough. But if you don't have outputs tied to their work, they're never going to do what you need them to do. Next, I want to talk briefly about automation. AI automation gets a lot of buzz right now. The reality is I think about it in three categories. There's the AI that the government and the big companies have that we don't have access to, right? So there's this stuff that they can do that we can't do. So that's out of the equation. Then there's kind of that middle tier of AI users, and then there's like grandma who doesn't know what ChatGPT is, right? So our goal is to kind of be in that middle tier of users. And of course, there's gradients between all three buckets, but at its core, the middle tier is where we're at. In the middle tier, a lot of the talk about AI is about stuff like graphics, images, sound, stuff like that doesn't really help us. And if you use ChatGPT for some stuff, it's great. But the real key here is not so much AI, it is automation. Automation is what you should be looking for. And automation simply is linking tools together to get the output that you want. Linking tools together to get the output that you want. So a simple thing you can do here is go, every week I'm doing this. Going back to our document, we've done one, we've done two, now we're on three. Maybe every week I'm doing this. Can my tools link together to give me this output? Or can my employees' tools link together to give me the output so they don't have to stop and I can automate the sales metrics or the financial report or whatever it might be? Can I link my tools together? Once you do this, you will begin to see that there's so many things that you can automate. It's crazy. I've consulted with people about automation, and it's wild how little they use and how much they can use. And I think the big reason is that people get caught up in ChatGPT, Gemini, AI, and all this flashy stuff, and they don't realize that automation is really what you need. So you're trying to build a business that runs without you. Well, you've got to document, create goals, SOPs, train, and automate. As you automate, then all of a sudden, the stuff that you were doing or that your employees are giving to you is now less time strain on them. It happens faster, rarely breaks, if ever, and it comes to you in a process that you've already predetermined that you want. Maybe even better depending on how you structure your automation. If you're not willing to invest in automation, then honestly, you're going to be stuck in your business a lot longer than you want to be, because automation is the thing that can really help you. But if you start with it first, you're unlikely to be successful. So think about it like this. If you said, I want to automate my booking process for meetings, you can get Calendly or Calendar.com, a tool like that to handle it, or maybe Motion, a tool to help you do that stuff. That's great. That's a simple process. You start linking together processes and you don't really have a good flow for how that works. What tool should be here and there? When should a human be involved? All those kind of questions are asked. The automation will not give you the output that you want. It's only going to do what you tell it to do. You said when a lead clicks here, do this. And it does that. And then this, and then that. And what happens with automation is we forget that when we're talking, what happens is that when we're talking, we understand there's nuance. Well, Ryan said to go to town and make sure I take a lift at the Texas Triangle to get there. Cool. The problem is with automation, that negates it. There's 1, 2, 3 stop signs on the way to just the spot I just mentioned. It went over that. If you're from my area, you know what I meant. Automation wouldn't. And so as you're building your goals and your SOPs, you're refining your processes so you can automate more complex systems. I'm not saying don't automate some small stuff early on. I'm saying that when you want to automate some serious workflows, understand that it's got to be later in the process. Otherwise, it will just cause you frustration because you haven't done the work to refine the processes up front so that you can actually automate as much as you humanly can. One more point about AI automation is I talked to an owner the other day and they said, well, we don't want AI answering the phone. And okay, that's fine. I don't care if you do or you don't. That's up to you. What I will tell you is that right now, as society moves forward, we don't know how much we want AI involved. So if you get on Amazon, you don't want to call Amazon to buy something. You want to get on there, click a button, and it shows up at your door. That's what you want. So right now, if you go on Amazon, you want to just click a button and it shows up at your door. You don't want to call someone, go through the process, negotiating price, all that stuff. You just want to go and buy. We don't know, because we haven't tried it, what percentage of customers for roofers, for plumbers, for your business just want to call a machine that's an AI machine, answer a few questions, and then have a tech show up at the door. We don't know. We have no idea. So as we're moving forward from the automation into the AI world, where it's more AI involved, understand that customers don't know either. Each customer is going to be different. And I bet in 1992, if you said, hey, you can order just about anything you want off the internet, someone would go, no, I want to talk to someone. They wouldn't want that. but now you can. So don't be afraid of it. Just understand that that debate still hasn't been found as far as where we want people to be involved and where we don't. But us as consumers, but there's plenty of time where we don't want to deal with humans. We just want to go buy something. Final thing I'll say is when you go to a restaurant, sometimes you want to ask the waiter or waitress what their favorite food is. New restaurant, you've never been there. But if you go somewhere like Chili's and you've been there a bunch and you know what you want to order, do you really need a waiter or waitress? All you need is to go place your order and then have your drinks refilled when they're empty. That's it. You don't really need someone to come by your table and check in on you. So that goes back to my point. We don't know where we really want AI to handle customer service yet, but I can promise you it's coming more faster than you think. Sit down, as I said, next week and start jotting down every question you get asked. Start that process. We'll show you how many things that you're doing right now that someone else can do for you. It needs to be eye-opening. The biggest problem that owners have is, I talked to an owner last year, or the year before last, and this company did about $30 million a year. And he said, well, if I go away, the company dies. Think about that, a $30 million a year company, that if the owner went away, the company dies. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, that's what he thought. So many owners want to be more critical to their business than they have to be. This doesn't mean that you never show up again or you're on vacation all the time. That doesn't mean that. What it means though is that you can have your time back to work on things in the business that are really important. And if you can't do that, you're really stuck trying to figure out what you can do in your business. So by starting the process of documenting, I would want to say in 4 to 6 months, you can remove at least 20, maybe 30 hours a week from your workflow right now. And so that way you can work on helping the business grow, going and doing the things that really the most valuable employee should do, which is you, and doing stuff finally that you enjoy instead of always hand-holding every little request that comes your way. And if you're wondering what are the most common mistakes business owners watch a video. It's going to be here.